everybody? Welcome back to another Legion TD2 tier list. Today we are doing the Mercenaries, so everything that you can send to your opponents, how good each one is, how good or not good some are. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out all of my other Legion TD2 tier list and other content campaigns, ranked, custom, everything like that. So let us get started with our Mercenaries. Let's see. Hermit, I'm going to give to S. I think Hermit, no matter what wave it is just always a solid choice to keep your sending wave alive and to be able to heal itself and all of the units is just super useful for AD Mythium. And again, on any wave it's useful because the wave is going to be in front of it still, even if it is a backline wave. So Hermit is always a very good, strong, safe send for sure. For 60 Mythium, Brute is so fucking good. I mean, it's honestly probably one of the... obviously there are way better mercenaries, but for 60 Mythium, Brute is the best Mythium for your buck, you know what I'm saying? Like, Brute is so good, so devastating, so damaging, especially early game. Brute is always an insanely solid choice. Snail, I'm just gonna put Snail in B. Honestly, I'm gonna put Snail in C, actually. It's, even with giant snails, it's not good, but just base Snail, unless you're, wave 1 and they shittily built or risked a shit build that you wouldn't send a Snail, after that, the snail's usually 9 times out of 10 not going to be the difference that they send. Now, the 1 time out of 10, okay, yeah, woohoo, but, snail is not good. Now, these turrets and lizards I don't really think are good either. Obviously, early game, they can be a little bit stronger just because, the enemies are worse off on their build and everything like that, but overall, still, you're better off either saving or, if they're an extra send or whatever, you've already sent your hefty mercenaries or whatever and you need to spend a little bit more, or you need to income, okay, but overall just the actual mercenary itself, and same with Dragon Turtle, is just, it's not good. Pit Fiends I'll give to A. I think they're okay, they're solid, they have some better stats than Brute, but the Brute itself, the ability that it brings, making the person that it's attacking attack less, is huge. So Brute is still better than Pit Fiend, but Pit Fiend is solid. It's a solid choice for 60 Mythium for sure. Now, let's see. I'm gonna go... Honestly, everything is so close. Alright, let's just go Kraken. Kraken's gotta be S. I mean, I know it's obviously the highest Mythium income, but it honestly is worth it. It's really good. But honestly, if you told me it was an A and wanted to argue about it being S, I wouldn't really disagree too much with you. Siege Ram, I think I could have put into A. If you want just a straight up tank, Siege Ram does little to no damage, basically. I mean, it does, it does a good amount of damage. It's gonna do more damage than a Brute and shit like that, but, because it's so much more Mythium. But really, it's just a big ass fucking tank, that they have to destroy. So it's much more just useful if, depending on what they have built. A lot of these mercenaries, you really have to watch and see what your enemy, who you're sending to, is building and what's good against that, much like why I think Safety Mole's S, because 1 is just good in general, you're going to be taking less damage from all your units. 2, if they have a lot of AoE, which, a lot of units end up being AoE, that's super good as well. And honestly, for 120 Mythium, it's got a decent amount of health and does an okay amount of damage. So Safety Mole is always a very, very strong, solid choice, except on ranged waves. You don't want Safety Mole on wave 8 or 11, stuff like that, because it's gonna be the first thing that goes out there and dies first, and then nobody gets the fucking buff it gives them. And same for pack leader. I think pack leader's a little bit worse. It does cost more and has more health and everything, but I don't know. It just it doesn't feel like the boost is enough compared to safety mole, and maybe it's because it's not as like you can't see it as much or feel the effect of it as much, but pack leader is still very super solid, strong choice for sure. Um, Four Eyes I think is good no matter what, just being able to rip through your enemy team because again, 9 times out of 10, the people that are going to be out front are the tanks, so being able to rip through their health very quickly is good, and it's just going to do a lot of damage to everybody anyway. It's very, very strong. Honestly, a super underrated Mercenaries Ghost Knight. Um, doesn't take ability damage, so it's just everybody's base damage, which honestly, to get rid of such a high health mercenary, you want to be using a fucking, ability unit, a Zeus shot or a Disciple or Starcaller missile or, something like that, and he's not gonna fucking feel that shit. So he is super, super good. Um, I think I'm gonna do the honey guy on A. I think again it's kind of hard to put him in S because it's so way less useful on ranged waves. Now there's obviously not a lot of ranged waves. I think there's like 3 in total, so it's not a huge deal. Um, but still, aside from that, I don't know. It's hard because it's like his usefulness is 100% there. He 100% deserves an A just because he heals the wave, but at the same time, depending on how much the wave is left, when he dies, what wave it is, again, if it's a ranged wave, then he's, useless essentially. So I think I gotta keep him an A just because of some of those factors for sure. Um, Cannon is nice and strong for 100. Mythium, I don't think Drake is that great. Um, it's a little bit better than Cannon, but I mean not like enough to put it in S. That's for fucking sure. I think Dino is your best bet for obviously a lower cost tank. Only 80 Mythium for a pretty solid Dino tank. Um, okay damage, but again, you know, definitely going for just a tankiness, which somebody like Dino is actually good for, these range waves like 8 or 11 or something like that to, if you want to send a bunch of mercenaries, send a bunch of Dinos, so then the wave's going to do more damage than these mercenaries, not all of the mercenaries, if it's a fucking Kraken or Ogre or Centaur or Four Eyes or whatever, then it's going to do a shit ton of damage, but what I'm saying is if you want to just send a bunch of fucking dinos out front to where the wave is focusing on them and they're trying to blow through all your tanky dinos, then that's a super good strat. Um, Centaur, I mean, you got to put into S to being able to hit multiple units, especially if they're doing something like a bunch of spawned units, a bunch of gate guards or crab warlocks or just a bunch of units in general. They have a bunch of low tier units out there just to, create space or even soul gates and stuff like that to where he's just gonna fucking chop them through. And obviously, even if it's not that, the fact that he can hit multiple targets anyway, the group is going to be grouped up anyway, the whatever lane or split, anything is going to be grouped up, so he's still going to hit multiple units, but he's so much more useful when it's spawns, when it's low tier units that are just all grouping up. He's gonna chop them real quick, and does a fuck ton of damage because he's hitting multiple people, and he has a good amount of fucking health too, for sure. Um, Needler, I think it is good. It is a lot of Mythium, and I do think there's some better choices depending on the wave and who your enemy is, but Needler can definitely do a fuck ton of damage. Um, Shaman, honestly, like I'm gonna put into A. I think Shaman is very, very wave or mercenary specific. Shaman is just boost another person, which is great and it's so nice. But if all you send on any wave is just a shaman, sure that whatever unit is boosting in that wave is going to be doing better, but unless it's like, wave 15 or wave 20 or 21, um, things like that where it's, a boss or, you're sending a bunch of mercenaries like Kraken or whatever, I feel like Shaman is not the greatest choice. He's still very good, still a lot of health, gonna do an okay amount of damage, and has the utility of boosting um, another unit, but again, I think he's a little too specific to put into S to where he is the most useful, Shaman is, if you have a choice between all of these units every single wave and you can choose, a number of them, you're going to choose Shaman on certain waves and not all of them, you know? Um, let's see. Imps I think are solid. I think they're good at certain times, the units themselves are not great, but they do a decent amount of damage, and there's two of them, so that can definitely be useful. It's not exactly two for the price of one because they have so little. I mean, they don't have a little health, but I mean, they're not, tanky or anything like that, which is why there's two of them, so they can definitely deal out a lot of damage. But I think they have their certain waves and times and builds that they're good against. Mimic's kind of the same thing. Good amount of health, can definitely do a good amount of damage, and the utility that it brings with killing units gives you some gold. Um, it's just, again, a little more specific and not always the most useful choice to choose to get you know, to the best out of all of your Mythium or the best out of killing the wave. Um, Ogre. Ogre's hard. He definitely is going into A, but I don't know if he's S tier worthy. He can definitely do a shit ton of damage, and every time he gets his ability, it does more, and he's got a very good amount of health. So I will put him in S. I think because of all that, he really doesn't have like a downside aside from him being melee, which most units in the game are, but still very, very, very strong. And then Witch is a little bit harder. I'm gonna put Witch into A. I just think Witch is a little too specific. You have to do the witch on certain waves and everything to get the most value. So all she does, she's doing damage, but she's spawning frogs, and then those frogs, shoot out and do damage. So she needs time. So shit, like on wave 21, you get fucking 8 witches out there spawning a shit ton of frogs. Like it's gonna be insane. But if it's not that wave, definitely better to not necessarily do her on ranged waves. I mean, not bad, but like not the greatest choice either. And then again, they're just better choices. There's going to be so much more benefit from doing other people than a witch on any given wave, basically, to where it's not the best. But please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully this tier list helped you figure out what to better send. Obviously read what they do. If you hold down control over whoever it is you're looking at, you'll see more or less their full ability and what they do. So don't forget to check out all my other tier lists, and we'll see you guys in the next one.